And here's a top story. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has hailed the governing party for what he says has been transforming South Africa since the dawn of democracy. Ramaphosa says the country is vastly different compared to the apartheid era. He has addressed party supporters at the Mbombela Stadium in Mpumalanga, where the ANC is celebrating its 112th year anniversary.
So the democratic South Africa of today is very different from the lived experience of apartheid South Africa 30 years ago. There are those who say nothing has changed, but they also know that they are not telling the truth. Bayatanda noma abatandi, the South Africa of today is different and vastly improved from the South Africa of 30 years ago. And that has been brought about by the African National Congress. And that represents the resolve that Nelson Mandela took when he took the oath at the Union Buildings as the first democratically elected president. South Africa today, you like it or you don't like it, even if you hate it, it is there because the African National Congress has brought about real transformation in this country. Please accept it and swallow it, because that is the reality. Over the last 30 years, the ANC-led government has made tremendous strides in empowering the women of our country. It is largely due to the ANC's decision that women must be equally represented in all public institutions, that currently more than 45% of the seats in Parliament are held by the women of South Africa. That is what the ANC has led in.
The ANC celebrated 112 years of its existence, marked by various ceremonies ahead of the big annual January 8th statement, in which party President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed delegates. And to further unpack those celebrations is Rebone Tau, who is a political analyst and joins us now. Rebone, thank you so much for your time and welcome. Look, you heard the ANC president during his speech holding many of his cards to his chest by saying that this statement was basically a framework for their manifesto, and that many of their plans, especially as they go into the polls, will be revealed when they launch that manifesto. Briefly unpack his speech for us.
Good afternoon to the viewers at home. Yes, as you clearly stated, that the president has indicated that the real, January statement will be later next month as they unveil their manifesto. But this was more of a reflection of what has happened in the past 30 years, what they have done in terms of women, transformation, issues of water, issues of health, and he touched on the issue of youth, because it's very important that the ANC also gets that youth vote, speaking about the youth league, how they're speaking about national resources, how always taken out of the country as raw as they are, and that it is important that they should actually use those natural resources, to take out the final product, wherever that they will be exporting, goods and so forth. But he's really trying also to set the tone, about those that have left, with President Zuma, the formation of MK and so forth.
And in your observation, was the turnout to the centenary celebrations enough, or does it purport to show a really unified and stronger ANC despite all their internal challenges?
This was a very, very difficult for them, but they managed to pull it off. We should give them that. That he was not addressing an empty stadium with all the internal challenges. As we spoke about, as I just indicated about the formation of MK, which just happened in December. And then immediately you have January 8 taking place. Like in the beginning of January. So they had to work very hard. More especially, you had Jacob Zuma, the former president of the ANC, who was in Mpumalanga last week Saturday in Mkondo, obviously trying to make sure that they demobilize the people from attending this January 8 in Mpumalanga. There are also reports that I've had allegations that Mandla Msibi also held meetings yesterday, to tell people not to attend January 8 because of the factionalism that is happening in the PEC of Mpumalanga.
And the ruling party, Rebone, is going to the polls with quite a lot of open-ended issues. They failed to end load shedding as promised by its various leaders. Service delivery is at its knees. And I think I heard the president saying that coalitions hinder that very same service delivery. Yet the party hosted a whole event attempting to map out how coalitions will and should be conducted should they fare below that outright majority, which the president also urges members to prioritize. What exactly then is the message here, do you think?
He spoke, yes, about coalitions, that they're not good, it's all about playmakers, in the game of politics. And rightfully, as you say, that there's a mixed emotions, I think from their own side, they're trying also to put a face, that as the ANC, they're confident that they will get that 50%. But I think that they know that the damage that has been done by former President Jacob Zuma is going to hit them hard than they had anticipated, but they can't go out there, in their January 8 statement and say, oh, well, we have come to a realization that we're not going to make it to 40%. They need to show that brave face that indeed we are still the ANC that people voted for in 1994 was still relevant, but unfortunately the ground has shifted. It's no longer as fertile as it was for the ANC in the past.
And with that in mind, Rebone, what should then the ANC prioritize as a matter of urgency ahead of the election campaigning?
The issue of employment, they should, I don't know how they're going to sort it out because a lot of people are unemployed, and people are fed up also with load shedding, people are fed up with crime, so they will have to, I think also have to focus a lot, of resources towards also ending crime, it might not be easy, but and also trying to create more jobs because when people are unemployed, people then become mischievous, people get into crime and so forth, but also load shedding. But unfortunately, we had Mbalula the other day speaking at one of those building up rallies to the main event, speaking about that as the ANC is the one to end load shedding, but the ANC is not ESCOM. While, if you remember last year, he had indicated that by December there won't be any load shedding, but they sit, with the Minister of Electricity, Cyril Ramaphosa, and the National Executive Committee. This is a member of the ANC, and it shows that they play in politics also, trying to say to South Africans, well, we sympathize with the issue of load shedding, but we don't want to take responsibility anymore.
Rebone. And of course, the news just in is that Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma says she will not be available for nomination back to being a member of parliament. What are your comments there? And what do you think her resignation could possibly do to the image of the ruling party as it heads to the polls or prepares to head to the polls?
I think what we need to do, when I saw that resignation letter there on X, that, once you go to the Minister of Women, there's a tendency of people not coming back in that post. You can go back to Susan Shabang when she left Department of Minerals, she was to women, she never came back as a minister. We can go to Batabile Dlamini from Social Development, who went to women, she never came back as a minister. We can go to Maidengwane Mashaba, and he was Minister of DIRCO, went to women, she never came back as a minister. So it was a well-calculated move by Dr. Dlamini Zuma, to retire from politics. But also, if you look at it has been very difficult for her also as a member of parliament the past few months, especially around the Pala saga, how she has been consistent, in parliament, not towing the line of the party, but that means that she feels that she is not of value anymore to the party in parliament. That's my analysis there. And also this will also hit hard on the ANC for the mere fact that you've got her former husband, former President Jacob Zuma, starting a new party, having the damn retiring. So there's a lot of things. So I think also the ANC, probably if they're smart, they should capitalize and utilize it very well in this upcoming elections, to kill that Zuma issue.
All right, Rebone, thank you so much for that update. That was political analyst Rebone Tau on the ANC's 112th birthday celebrations.